happy Tuesday. It's been a long time. It's so good to see you. Welcome to Ping and Amy's Excellent Adventures in True Crime. I'm Amy, and to my left over here is my friend Ping, straight out of Australia. How are you, Ping?
Going all right. I think a bit better since the last time we spoke. How have you been? You've had a rough week.
Well, this week hasn't been as bad as last week. So, first of all, if you're new to the channel, we do cover true crime, but we have a philosophy here. We call it True Crime Light, which means there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. When we're talking crime, we're very serious, but we do get off on other tangents and talk about other things, pop culture related, what have you, just to kind of keep a balance. So we're not the straight, you know, documents, facts, blah, blah, blah type of true crime. But when we bring you those stories, we will maintain that integrity. And I hope that's a good description of who we are and what we do.
Yeah. I think it's like true crime with a bit of fun.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, Ping is in Australia. I am in Orlando, Florida. And last week we had a hurricane which kept changing back and forth, back and forth. Didn't know what was going to happen. I've let a lot of people know, but I'll say, first of all, thank you so much for the people that checked in with me. It means everything. We are fine. We had no damage. I was talking to Ping during the hurricane. He heard the crazy sounds and the wind and everything else. We came out of it basically unscathed. We had some flooding on our property, not in our house. We had a little bit of water that got in our house, but it was only the direction of the rain and it kind of like beating its way through the weather stripping. It's nothing we couldn't like towel up a door with or anything like that. And it wasn't huge amounts of water. I was just telling Ping before we went on air, which this happens sometimes, like we'll be a little bit late because we start chatting amongst ourselves and forget to hit the start broadcast button. We do have a little bit of what I guess I'm calling survivor's guilt. Less than 10 miles from us, there are some areas that are absolutely devastated. They're doubling up on some of the schools in my county because some of the schools can't reopen. And I know that some of the people that, I don't know if they crossed over, if everybody crosses over on this channel, but listen on my channel, True Crime Sushi. I do, oddly enough, have some people that live very close to me. And we couldn't, after the hurricane, even though we were unscathed, we couldn't leave our neighborhood because of the flooding. And so I was unable to know what the surrounding areas look like. But a couple of the listeners live around me and we're sending videos of other areas. And it's hard when you wake up and all you have is water on your property and no damage. And you think, oh my gosh, up where I go buy groceries or a little past where I go by the market, cars are underwater, schools are destroyed. So we're just very lucky, very, very thankful. And no, PB&J, we did not find any new boats on our property, but I'm going to write myself a note. Boat, Facebook.
I did make a joke while she was in the hurricane because she heard a loud noise. And I said, oh, it's probably another boat.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, because, oh gosh, it was pitch black and you could hear stuff flying through the air and banging around. And of course, we couldn't see anything. And so we were just oh, what? It's scary when you can't see what's going on. And it was bad. It was really, I'm not even gonna lie, it was bad. But as far as the boat comment, I'm going to pull some of I'll screenshot and black out people's names from our neighborhood Facebook page because there were all kinds of pictures on there. Is anybody missing a boat? Ended up in my lawn last night. It would be one of those little paddle boats, like
one of those, they go on the bayou type, those flat ones.
Yeah. Yeah, we're mostly those kind of boats or, is anybody missing? I saw one. Anybody missing a swing set? I was like, a swing set? Who?
Well, do you know, one of the most common things to go flying in a hurricane or a cyclone is trampolines because they've got such a big sail on them. They just get picked up and thrown like blocks. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's a joke in our neighborhood that because a lot of people have trampolines, that you just flip them over and park your car on top of it because it's the only way to keep it down.
That's a good advice. I never thought of doing that. See,
Yeah.
just stupid me, I would have like undone the whole thing, took all the springs out and rolled it. Instead you can just like turn it upside down and put something heavy on it.
Yeah, that's the thing because everybody's throwing everything they can into their garage, and you don't have room for a trampoline. I'm sorry, I have a perplexed look on my face. I do have a window that will not go away, and it's blocking my chat. Oh my gosh, Sherry Run say, I didn't know you had a daughter that lived in Orlando. Oh, she lives in Orlando, and I was worried. She said, "Mom, my blizzards are much worse."
She means a window in her computer, not a window in her house, by the way, because that would be really weird.
Oh, yeah, I meant a window on the computer. Sorry. I have to, and we'll get started, but I have to tell you, Payne, do you ever have those days that like you are literally busy all day, like demanding busy? Like I couldn't even, there was a point today where I couldn't even go to the bathroom. Like I thought I was going to die because my phone wouldn't stop ringing. People wouldn't stop coming to the door because we do have like we have to get, after a storm, we have to get our house and some things checked out. So we had somebody coming out to check our water and all that today. And they weren't supposed to be here till 4, but they showed up at 1, which is great. Like I'm not complaining, but wasn't expecting him. And it was just like all day. And then, to the point where I hate being that person that talks on my phone in public. I'm talking in the grocery store. I'm talking, loading my groceries into the car. I'm talking, coming home. I'm talking while I'm cooking dinner. I swear, if somebody, I literally put my phone outside while we were eating dinner.
Yeah, you're like, you're not ringing while I'm eating. Go away.
Oh, no. And when I get off this live, I've still got to like clean up dinner and dishes and put food away and all kinds of stuff. And then tomorrow is like a really busy day. So if I seem a little like more than usual, that's probably why. And so, I know that tonight we have 2 very serious topics. So since I've just been yammering for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we should probably just get into it. And so I'm going to leave it up to you. Do you want to start with Debbie Collier, or do you want to talk about Gracie Mitchem?
I want to do the Gracie one first, because the other one's a bit longer, I think. At least I think so. The other one's a bit more in depth. We'll do this one. We'll have a little bit of a break, talk about something else, and then we'll do the Debbie case.
Okay. So let me pull this up really quick.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
No, you're not putting me on the spot at all. It's absolutely fine.
By the way, while Amy's doing that, Amy was messaging me during the storm, and she was like, I hear freight trains. And I'm like, oh, no. Because that's a real telltale sign for tornadoes. And there is some talk online that there was one. I know where Amy lives. The track where the report was is a little further away from Amy. I say a block, but it could be like a few miles. But yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, it was alarming. I'm not even going to. Yeah, I kept hearing. It is a noise. I know a lot of people have experienced tornadoes, but it is a noise that, if you haven't ever heard it before, like I think it's almost like, how would I say this? When people say like, you just know the smell of death when you smell it.
Right. You just know that sound is a tornado or something bad when you hear it.
It's like danger, danger. Yeah. You just know. I can't explain it other than it's just a noise that creates panic, because what you're listening to is not right. It's just not right. Okay, that didn't work very well. Okay, so tonight I want to talk about Alena, Gracie Mitchem, She goes by Gracie. She's 15 years old, and she is missing out of California. Um, there's several things about this case that piqued my interest, but first and foremost, I want to tell you guys that one of our viewers tipped me off to this case this morning. I don't want to say her name if she wants to stay private, but if you're here and you want to take credit for that, I'm all for it. So Ping and I both greatly appreciate when we get story ideas or tips or whatever from you all. That's what makes this work. Additionally, I was sent some videos that Sleuth Mom on YouTube made about this case, and I have included those links in the description of this video. I spoke on the phone with Sleuth Mom this afternoon, and it was communicated to me earlier that we were allowed to show her videos on our channel tonight if we so chose, which is so kind of her. And but I also talked to her about some other entities of this case. She absolutely did give me permission. Like I said, included the links in the description. I am going to play a little bit of it tonight, but I want you all to go and watch them on her channel as well. Take an interest in this case because there are some things that are going to sound very familiar to you guys if you remember me covering. Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Kaylee Jones. So, Alena or Gracie is missing out of Spring Valley, California. She was reported, or she went missing on September 22nd. She's 15 years old. One of the things that, and these photos are small, I put links to all her flyers in the description. One of the things I want you to keep in mind is that at the time of her disappearance, her hair was dyed like a primary color green, but like kind of like a faded, chalky kind of green. Other thing you need to know about Gracie is that she's one of those people, like just depending on the day and how she styles her hair or does her makeup or tilts her face, she looks different. She is a girly of 1,000 faces. So the more photos that we can get out there of her, the better. And that's why I included several different postings for her. So 2 things. Her case is through San Diego Sheriff's Department. The number there is 1-858-565-5200. And her parents are also working with a non-for-profit agency. And that agency's name is the RAD Foundation. I'm sorry, the RAD Project. I'm second guessing myself. I'm telling you, I am a bundle of nerves tonight. So give me 1 second.
It happens when we have a break. It takes a little while to get back into it.
So sorry. The RAD movement. See, I'm glad. I'm so sorry. It's the RAD movement. So it's www.theradmovement.org. And I've included their link in the description of this video as well. So the parents, the family of Gracie, are asking if anybody has any tips or any information that they reported to San Diego County Sheriff's Department, of course, but also to the RAD movement. They are a 501(c)(3). Some of that information is not yet up on their website, but I verified that today through the state of California. And I also talked to one of the principal directors of the RAD movement today. We had a nice conversation on the phone. Amazingly intelligent, articulate, passionate person. And I hadn't heard of this organization till today. It hasn't been around very long, maybe 9, 10 months, little like around a year. But they're going to do great things. And they specialize in locating missing children, but specifically trafficked children. And I mention that because it is highly suspected that Gracie was trafficked. Gracie was a gamer. She was on her PlayStation quite a bit. Although she was, or she is, um, your typical teenager, she's more introverted and more into talking online and playing games. So she had an incident, maybe in the past, well, let's just say in the past year to be fair, where her parents had become aware that she was talking online with a stranger and a boy. And she's a teenager, so that happens. And we get attention and we get, maybe recognized for being good at something or being witty or what have you, and just a different opportunity. Like other people aren't defining your personality like they do sometimes at school. Like, oh, Amy, she's the weird one. Everybody's like, oh, Amy's the weird one. You know what I mean? In the online world, there aren't a lot of people around you that know you, so you can not lie, but you can really be yourself without fear that somebody's going to be like, oh, she's not really that funny because, or here's what she did when she was 2, or that kind of stuff.
You can just be yourself.
You just be, yes. And I think sometimes especially teenagers find some self-confidence and authenticity in that. So her parents became aware that she was communicating, excuse me, I have to take a drink, with a boy, and they had that talk with her. You don't really know who you're talking to online. You need to be careful. People can say anything or whatever. And it seemed like that message registered. And I can offer you something in a few minutes that's going to kind of back that up. But what's scary in this case is that she was actually approached by women online. And I find that makes this case a little bit scarier because I think sometimes we let our guard down with other women.
Amy, do you mean the boy she was originally talking to
No.
is actually a woman, or these are two separate people?
Two separate people. So she stopped talking to boys, but then she
found a woman.
Approached by a woman. Mm-hmm.
And she's a handler, you reckon? A feeder.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good.
There's lots of people's names that I could use in the trafficking industry, but I think one that, and it's alleged, but one that, like, it's the only reason I'm using her name, it's recognizable, would be Ghislaine Maxwell. If she did what she has been accused of doing, that's why she was good at it. She was a woman. People, you don't get scared to get in the car with another woman. We think of women as nurturers, as care, somebody
people that wouldn't hurt someone. Yeah.
Right. That always think about other people as our sisters, our mothers, like our own children. So that is pretty disturbing. The other thing that is disturbing is that when Gracie left, she took her phone, her laptop, she took her PlayStation, she took her important documents with her. And it was just so thorough that it would appear that this was coaching. I don't want to use grooming and coaching interchangeably. So grooming is the trust process, right? But I think she was given like a checklist of what she needed to take with her
to run away and start a new life.
Yeah. Run away. And So now here's a situation that San Diego Sheriff's Department is dealing with. They do not have the devices to work with to get her digital footprint. So they're having to work it out another way.
They can go to her PSN account and probably strip it of IP and communication logs. If they get to PlayStation, Sony, they should help.
They're currently in the process of doing some of that. Um, she changed the password on her Google account, so they don't. Then the night before she left, so they don't have that. I think they're working on that. Um, no location tracking is on for her. So probably not tonight because we have a lot on our plate tonight. But a suggestion might be that you and I, maybe on Thursday, maybe we can talk about some of the ways that we all know internet safety and being aware of like what apps are on your kid's phone and stuff like that, but also what we can do. Like they're not end all be alls for protection, but they are added layers of protection, like Life 360, something along those lines. So there's a lot of concern, not just because we have a missing 15-year-old, but because we have a missing 15-year-old that took documents with her. We have a missing 50-year-old that took her electronics with her. We have a missing 15-year-old who lives so close to the border. This is San Diego. This is like Mexico is right there. So here's where this RAD movement comes in. They deal a lot with human trafficking, and they have all kinds of resources, and they have a good success rate in recovering people and acting quicker than, maybe not better than law enforcement, but quicker than law enforcement because they don't have the bureaucracy to deal with.
They don't have the red tape to go through.
Exactly. And they have a lot of resources of people with intel that have worked in law enforcement or have worked in recovery. They also provide victim services, which is very, very important. So when they recover these people, they have a lot of they have a process of dealing with children, women, young men.
Like a reintegration process.
Yes. And so they're there with the families while that person is missing. They're part of the recovery process, the physical recovery, as well as the emotional recovery.
That's a good service.
Trying to foster that. Yeah. So in my history of being on social media, being in true crime, of the people that Ping and I have interacted with, I know you guys know I'm extremely reluctant to endorse like a GoFundMe or anything like that. But I am going to say this. If you find yourself in a position where you want to donate to somebody to help recover missing children, of course, there's, the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. There's the Class Foundation, highly recommend. And then I will also endorse the RAD movement. I think they're doing great things, and I look forward to seeing them. Not that they're doing it to get fame or anything, but seeing and hearing more about their successes. I learned about them today, and I just can't say enough good things. So there's that. There's good people behind it. Really doing, what do you call it? Like grassroots work, like using their own resources, using their own manpower, only spending money when they absolutely have to, like bare bones and getting stuff done. And if you know me, like I'm not cheap, but I'm not about spending a lot of money to do something if I know I can do it without it. Like, it doesn't have to be super slick, for me. So
As long as it works, kind of
as long
thing.
as it works, yeah, as long as the bottom line is there. So yeah, so she has her social security card, and some other, they're not being, so let me put it like this. I have heard different places about different things, different pieces of ID and paperwork that she has with her. The only thing that I can 100% confirm is that she has their social security card with her.
That's interesting. How would a child even know to have that?
I don't think you would, because most parents hold on to those and they're in a drawer.
Yeah,
So.
for like doctors and stuff like that. Amy,
Yes.
I have a question. One, was there any family fractures at home before this event? And two, what makes them think it's a trafficking event and not just someone they found, like she found an older friend online and is staying with her or something?
Well, that's a good question, because any of the people that she would have interacted with at school have been interviewed and cleared. I'm going to use the word cleared. Okay. Um, some of the online interactions, they have reached out to those people and feel confident that they really don't know where she is. So then they uncovered, and I don't know how, that she had been groomed by an adult woman. And the fact that that conversation ends, her electronics are gone, and then she just drops off the radar. And they're very confident that she's not like camping out in a friend's closet, like, those type of things. Because
Yeah, that's
yeah, because I did with both the person from the Rod movement that I spoke with today and speaking with Sleuth Mom on the phone. We had mirroring conversations that came up organically, and one of them is this. And I think a lot of people are wondering why the FBI has not been brought in. And I do have an answer for that now. The reason being is that in Gracie's case, it has to be a suspected abduction, and they don't have enough at this point to say that she was abducted, because they don't have a card, they don't have a witness, they don't have she left a note, although the note doesn't seem to be written in her handwriting.
if they had a car, they probably would have put out an Amber Alert too.
Right, exactly. So they don't have any of that. um it's just kind of the way the FBI works. Sorry, I choked on a piece of ice. And then like, if you remember in the Kylie Rodney case, when it first came out, they were saying possible abduction. That was part of the reason the FBI was brought in so quickly. Here's another problem with this case, and it happens. This is where the mirroring conversation comes in. This happens in a lot of cases. Um, not just as a true crime community, but just as citizens of the world. But because we're talking about the United States, so citizens in the United States, we need to come up with some solutions. So a lot of these jurisdictions are really void of manpower right now. Maybe they should have 20 detectives, or traditionally they had 20 detectives and they're working with 2, but they have the same amount of crimes going on. So that's problem one. So we need to renew an interest in people getting into law enforcement, whatever we have to do that. Um, depending on what jurisdiction you're dealing with, you can have limited resources. I was trying to remember today, and I think Ping will remember it because he's so much better at this than I am. But do you remember we were watching that press conference, and the sheriff was like, "And you can reach me. My email is jimmythesheriff@aol.com." Like,
Right, yeah, I remember that.
but I don't even remember what case that was. But
Oh, wasn't that Kylie Rodney?
was it?
No, it wasn't. It was something else. No, I'm wrong.
I can't remember. But anyway, you're going to have big things that happen in small jurisdictions. And so you're going to have cases where if your child is, this happened in Southern California, but your child is playing on PlayStation and meets somebody, and you live in the Appalachians, and your local department probably doesn't have a like a IT type person. They're probably going to be reliant on another person in another county, which creates problems because you have to have contracts and you have to have things to share resources, all of that. All of that slows things up. So what happens in these cases a lot, and this is just speculation on my part, assuming on my part, but a child goes missing, or a parent says, they're scared, my child's missing. I need somebody to look at this. And the initial response from law enforcement is, oh, well, they probably ran away. And see, right there, that's where I get a hard stop. Because not only do you love your child and you're emotionally responsible for them, because they're children are just your everything. Even if you don't have that, that child is your responsibility until they're 18. You are legally responsible. So if you don't know where your child is, then you don't know that they're safe. And if you don't know if they're safe, where do you fall risk management wise? Where do you leverage things? Do you just say, oh, well, I'm going to go to bed and assume that they're okay? Or do you sit and think the worst? So we can't allow, and I say this all the time, I support law enforcement, but we cannot allow law enforcement to say to us anymore when we can't locate our children, oh, they probably ran away. Okay, so what? Go find them. Help me find them, because I don't know where they are. If they're not with me, then they're not safe. Period.
We also need faster processes for things like IT, specialized IT help, networking, cybersecurity, and that funding needs to come from federal to be able to fund these type of programs that would allow it to happen on a more local level rather than having to push it to like a federal agency all the time. And that's where it slows stuff down. It's 2-3 weeks, a month, that time that person could be long gone or dead.
Yeah, no, I agree. We all know what the first 48, why they call the show that. People need to be located in a timely manner. Every minute that goes by is another mile away. It's every time they get to another location, there's a less likely chance they'll come out of it alive. It's horrible, and I don't know what the solutions are. I've had, I kind of think what if there was what if there was a national clearinghouse run by the government? Do you know what I mean? All law enforcement agencies across the nation used a cybersecurity department.
Right,
So that's
that's
all
what I
these
was
people
thinking
did
too.
all day. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, so you could submit a case, ask for whatever assets you need, and they would have to have a 48-hour clearance on it. Something like that. Instead of right now, if you go to legal, because a lot of these cops have to go to legal, they'll go to legal, try and get a subpoena, go through PSN or PlayStation or Facebook or whatever. Sometimes these things we've seen in court documents are like, oh, they got back to us 2.5 months later.
right.
That's not good enough.
Well, I guess my vision would be something like this. You have, instead of all these different agencies having little specialized departments, right? You would have an emergency room, and you would triage a case that was centralized for everyone to use. And whoever's
Good
in
idea.
charge of each department triages the services and the level of care that they get. So even though I'm supposed to work on this case in 30 minutes, this one just came across and we have more information. If we get on it now, we might be able to stop it. That type of thing.
It's a good idea. I've seen a couple of things recently where they were like, "Oh, we don't know when we'll have that. We only have one guy in our office who knows how to use Bright software. Bright software is the one that clips into your phone, and then it can basically take everything out of your phone and catalog it on their computers. And they're like, "Oh, we only have one guy who's trained in that, and he only works on Thursdays." Like,
Yeah,
we've got to get better at this.
yeah, definitely. That's the thing. These people don't have time, and I love Crocheting Bammy's comment. She says, or yeah, if this is Spring Valley in Southern California area, that's not a small town. We need to retrain these law enforcement officers not to just assume things before they have fully investigate the situation. I agree. And I was saying that on the phone today, at almost exactly what you just said. I think there's two reasons they say it. One, like you've stated here, it's lack of training. Too much autonomy in making that decision. It
Like a
shouldn't have
box.
to.
They're just like, does it fit in this one? No. Does it fit in this one? No. Does it fit in that one? Yes. Okay, tick that.
Right. Well, and the other thing that happens is if I'm very overloaded in my position and I can say to somebody like, this looks like a runaway case, and it goes over in another pile and I don't have to deal with it with anybody breathing down my neck for professionally breathing down my neck. Now the parents might be or whatever, but my supervisor, nobody else is going to come and ask me about where I am with this because it's sitting over in this pile and it's okay for me to ignore it for another 3 or 4 days. And that is not a criticism of a detective that's overworked or law enforcement officer. It's just something that needs to be restructured.
It's a procedural issue that needs to be broken down and redone. But I have another. I think it's a two-pronged issue. It's exactly like you say, but at the same time, if you look at the Brian Laundrie case and, Gabby Petito, we'll talk more on that a little later, actually. One of the things that they kept saying is, oh, the officers, they need more training in DV and spotting DV and this and that. And then now it's like, oh, these guys need more training in tech or runaways and that. There's only so much training we can give to these officers before they
Right.
become they just become mushy because they can't do their jobs and this. So we need to hire more specialized people who can work in certain niche aspects, things like DV or they can work. I mean, all officers should have a basic understanding of DV and how to deal with it and how to spot things and stuff like that. But with technology and runaways and that, we need to hire more people who can work on these aspects without asking officers to be professionals in 23 different subjects. Like it's impossible.
I agree. I 100% agree with you. And I guess maybe that's why my mind is stuck on a like a prototype or a standard operating procedures, much like we treat physicians. Your general practitioner has a peppered knowledge of
Yeah, with certain stuff. And once it gets past that, you go to emergency. And once it goes there, they're like, you might need a specialist and so on.
Exactly. And can we treat law enforcement like that?
Yes,
And
I think you
say,
can.
okay, here, I've evaluated this. This is what it looks like. And this really needs to go to blah, blah, blah. And it gets there. Like we treat it like it's life and death because it is life and death.
More modular than it is now. Now it's also sort of like systematic, but we need more modular parts of law enforcement where they can be plugged in or taken away when it's needed and put onto other cases with other departments or whatever. The only issue with that is you don't want it to end up like the child sys, like the what do you guys call it over there? We call it DOCS, but what do you CPS or
Mm-hmm.
Child Protective Services? Yeah. So you don't want it to end up like that, where they're like there's two people running like an entire county and they got like 4,000.
Right.
It needs to be better than that.
Well, I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, and it's my fault. We need to be talking about Gracie.
Yeah, it's my fault.
No, it's totally mine. I'm the queen of, but I digress. But yeah, I think there's a lot of issues here. This case reminds me, it's a very, very similar to Haley Jones. She was 16 when she went missing, out of it, like the Atlanta area in Georgia, a gamer. Same thing, talking to people online, had some struggles with her parents about that. You know what? Here, I'm gonna go off tangent again for 1 second. Peeing like literally
All right.
2
We're gonna
minutes.
get a stop clock.
Yeah, I'm still talking about this. Stop me, but I feel like it's important. Here's the other thing. When we are talking about these missing children and their families, I don't care what was going on when they went missing. I don't care if they just had a big fight. I don't care if the kid didn't want to take their medication. I don't care if they'd skipped school the past week, if they just failed something, if they just broke up their boyfriend. It doesn't matter. They're still missing. It does not matter. We find them and we worry about all the other stuff when we get them back safely. And I'm seeing this as a trend, like, especially on social media, people trying to critique the family. Well, it's because, she mentioned once on Facebook, and I'm making this up, like she didn't like her stepmom. And it was like, oh, well, she disappeared when she was with her stepmom. Okay, you know what? Like, how is this productive? It's not. It's
Taking
extremely
away from the case itself.
Yeah.
You're actually diverting attention away from what actually matters.
I mean, if they just got dumped by their boyfriend or whatever, then like, yes, we're gonna say, okay, well, that's a trigger. Who would she run to? Who would help her? Where would she go to get? Of course, that information is important, but the rest of this stuff is not. It doesn't.
Family life. It's just
Yeah,
everyone has that.
it doesn't matter to me if that child was a known drug user. It doesn't matter to me if the parents are drug users. I don't. In that moment, I don't care. I mean, like, let's think about it like this. If you saw somebody laying on the sidewalk in distress, like where you needed to call 911, before you help them, would you think, oh, I wonder if their parents are drug users? Oh, I wonder if they're a drug user and they probably just need the Narcan, and I don't approve of that lifestyle. Or, they probably ate too many fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches, just like Elvis. And you know what I mean? Like, it
No, we
does
just
not,
help people. We
it
just
doesn't
find
matter.
and deal with their issues later.
Exactly. Okay, so what I wanted to do, if you don't mind, is go ahead. Like I said, I got permission to do this when Sleuth Mom did her video today. Now it's going to be about 11 hours ago. Gracie's mom actually called into the show, so we can hear directly from her mother.
It'd be good to hear for everyone, yeah.
So I would like to do that. Give me just a second to.
Thanks to Sleuth Mom too. She's so kind. We've known her for, I don't know, I've known her for on and off a little bit for a year or two. She's really nice.
She is really nice, and I have never directly spoken to her. And when I sent her a message, I mean, automatic. I was like, "Hey, this is Amy from TCS, and like, I have some questions about this, and can you call me?" And I mean, it was immediate. It was so nice, and I think it's wonderful when people can work together, as opposed to everything's a competition.
Yeah, the whole infighting within the true crime thing actually takes away from, everyone's power to. When we stick together and work on these things, we've seen good things happen before, and then when everyone is divided, like it just gets worse, and then we get no respect. And not to go off topic, it gets worse.
It does, and we need to just learn to. Especially when it comes to missing kids, where we actually can make a difference in the outcome of the case by bringing awareness and putting it up on the radar and sharing stories and everything. I'll tell you, when I was sitting here today trying to prep for this and everything else, I was also composing an email to creators that are 10 times bigger than me saying, like, hey, can you take 10 minutes out at the beginning of your show or the end of your show, or can you do a community post? Like, please. Because that's what this is about. Not who covered it, and and I'm not saying that sometimes I say things and they come out wrong because I'm an awkward person. But not that Sleuth Mom said this at all, but it doesn't really matter who's the first person to do it. It's that we work together keeping it out.
Be a part of the wave. Don't just be like, well, I didn't start the wave, so it's not important to me. Be a part of the movement and the wave and try and get this girl home.
Exactly. So I think I have it queued up properly. So now I just need to share my screen. So give me a second here. Stop with this one. It's funny, they changed like one button on here. The StreamYard will change things a lot. And they changed one button on here, and it's only what it's called. That's it. This is what it's called.
We might have to learn OBS.
But it's snagging me up tonight a little bit. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do this full screen, and I think I have it queued up in the right spot. But if not, I'm going to go ahead and scrub it until I get there.
Because there are talented, extremely talented people in our communities that could really, I think, help, especially with the facts that law enforcement obviously do not have the manpower capable to handle all of these runaway situations, all of these missing kids. Otherwise, they wouldn't have 38 active cases in their jurisdiction. Otherwise, Philadelphia, PA wouldn't have, almost 700 active missing teens in their area. There's hundreds and thousands, but yeah, you hate the conspiracy ones that bash the family. Exactly, Nikki. Unfortunately, it's the bad social media sleuths that lead with misinformation and gossip more detrimental to cases. It's very sad. So, okay. So then, let me see. Okay, so whenever we were live on Crime Time with Mal, one of the questions was, how did she know where her social media, not her social media, how did she know where her social security card and her birth certificate were? This family lives in California. They live in a drought area, and they have a go box they have a go box that is set up for escape in case of a fire, in case of a quick evacuation, in case of any type of situation like that. Yeah, it is. There's a lot. You know what? But that's built up over time of kids not getting found and not getting found and not getting found and not getting looked for. I can't remember. I think it was Virginia had 500 or 700 too. Right. It won't happen here. Exactly. And they get overwhelmed. And a lot of the kids come back and then they don't update their things too. But they get like 700 a year up there in Philadelphia. Your neighborhood is covered in Ring cameras, AP. Hello?
Okay, I'm sorry about that. My phone rang right as I went on.
Sorry. Hi, thanks for coming on, Shannon.
No problem.
So we were just talking. We've been live for about the last hour, going down through everything that we talked about yesterday.
Right.
And just really going through everything. And so I wanted to ask, as far as the detectives go, is there any information that you're able to share about where they're taking this investigation?
Unfortunately, I wish I had more to
Right.
tell you. The detectives are at this point, they've searched my house. They've searched our vehicles looking for anything else to help try to find her. I don't know. I'm not getting a lot of feedback from them. They're very minimal in what they tell you. I guess that's normal. I don't
Right.
know. But no, I honestly, I just need to hear from the damn detectives that they're treating my child as a missing person and an abduction, and stop telling me she's a damn runaway.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern. So, and I know that he's doing the work of not just a runaway now. Okay. I know that. But to get them to say it, to get them to change the listing, that's what's killing me. Like, if people just look at it as like, oh, she's just another runaway. But that's not the case in this situation. That's not who Gracie was or is. And she made friends with somebody. And the detectives got to take this seriously. And I just don't know when and if they ever are. Because the only way that the feds will get involved is if they say, hey, we believe that she's actually been abducted. We believe that she's actually been lured by a predator. But you have to have evidence to say that.
Right. And at this point, they don't really have that.
No, we don't have anything right now. There's some new developments and leads, and yes, they are all focused on the internet. That's all I can say. Is they're all the leads that we have are focused around the internet. So like everything local has been rolled out. Yeah, and then this morning I woke up and I'm dealing with with her biological mother, who's still trying to use a ploy and play on Gracie's disappearance for her own benefit. And I am Gracie's stepmom, yes, but I have been Gracie's mom longer than her egg donor.
I'm stopping it right here for a second, and we'll go back. This is important. There's a lot of variables in Gracie's case, and I think, not making excuses for law enforcement, but I think that's where law enforcement gets slowed down, because they have to verify and check everything. So Gracie's mom lives in another state. She has connections to people all over the country who, whether they be relatives or, integral parts of her life. And so you have to roll those people out. And according to the family, and I'm going to trust them and take it at word, Gracie's biological mom is an opportunist and is using Gracie being missing as an opportunity. And so that is kind of complicating things. So while law enforcement is trying to do all that and verify all that, it's agencies like the Brad movement that are like, hey, we trust you. We're all good. She's not in these places. Let's get to work. And they went as far as finding out that Gracie had left her school laptop at school and calling the school, immediately getting somebody on it to see if there was any links, any communication, anything that would help them find, just things that are a little bit more, I don't want to say out of the box, but more spot on. We got to do this now. I know who to call. If I don't know who to call, I'm just going to keep calling until I get somebody, that kind of thing. So now I'm going to shut up and I'm going to play the rest of this. And then it's important also that you know that Sleuth Mom was going about doing her live, and Gracie's mom somehow stumbled across it and called in. So this is very spontaneous, and you can hear it in her voice that it's very, very raw.
And that is my baby. That is not her baby. And she's just literally just using her to make herself be the victim. And it hurts even more in that aspect.
And it just, I don't know what else to do anymore. I woke up thinking I was going to be okay today, but I actually woke up worse today than I was yesterday. And I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's so hard in these situations because you guys are going through so much already. So Do you want to tell them a little bit about the day before she went missing? Because you had told me on the phone that she had spent kind of like a special day with her brother and her sister, really
Yes.
trying to just put
Make
those
memories.
memories.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. She and her sister. Gracie's an artist and loves to draw and paint and things like that. So she's got what are they called? The canvas boards, and she and her sister made like a hand mural on a canvas board, and it said "two of a kind, always and forever." She played all day with her brother, and typically throughout the day you would hear them, like screaming at each other or fighting, but it was a day that they had a good day. It was like she went out of her way to make sure that nobody was angry with each other. You know how kids are.
Mhm.
And that night when, we were home watching TV, she kept bouncing in the living room and coming in and being all excited and, what are you watching, Mom? What are you watching, Dad? Just nothing, no red flags whatsoever. I saw her at midnight or about 12:30 and I went into her room and I said, "Did you let the dog in?" And she goes, "Yeah." And okay, cool. Well, I love you and I'll see you in the morning. And when I woke up in the morning, she was gone. So
Right. And now is her PlayStation in her room?
it is in her room, and
Okay.
and it's in her room with her sister. So I, as far as people are like, well, did you ever watch her? Were you paying attention to what she was doing? Her and her sister share a room. They literally are right next to each other, bed side by side. I would, if conversations and stuff, you're thinking there's two of them in there, there's not going to be anything inappropriate or anything. And her sister Destiny said, absolutely, she's never come across anything like that. She does talk to people. She does have some people that are consistent. So, those are obviously people that are going to get looked at if we can get names. But without a PlayStation, we don't have her friends list. Without getting into her, all that, we can't. Her footprint's gone.
Took everything with her.
Took everything with her.
And you guys still haven't been able to get a hold of Sony?
No, Sony's a joke. Sony just sits you on hold for 3 hours. If you try to go to the online chat, it just keeps kicking you back out after you sat there for another 2 hours. And again, Sony's not going to help us without some type of subpoena from authorities.
Right. Okay. And
And I
tell
don't
us a
know-
little bit about where Gracie came from, her nickname.
So Gracie's nickname came from her daddy. She was born by the grace of God. And that's from the day she was born, her daddy gave her that nickname. And so that's the nickname that she was given. It has nothing to do with her real name. It's not her middle name, but that's the name she goes by. And my daughter, when Alan and I came together, I have an Alena. So there was no way we could have an Alena and an Alena. And so Gracie's just always stuck.
She's always responded to Gracie.
And that's the name she responds to.
Just Grace, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Dad in the background there?
Yeah, Dad just came in and joined me.
I think if you guys, is there anything that you want to say directly to Gracie between the two of you, just in case she would be watching this broadcast?
Just, Gracie, honey, if you're out there and they're listening to this, just please call somebody.
No.
I don't care who you call. Just call somebody to let us know you're okay. You're not in trouble. We just want you to come home. You will not be in trouble, I promise.
We'll work through this.
We'll work through this.
We'll get the help we need, that you need, that we all need. Baby, we just want you home, Grace.
If you want to switch high schools and go back to your old high school, I will make that happen. I just, baby, if you can,
Come home to mommy and daddy.
please come home.
Exactly, Dawn PT. By the grace of God, she will be brought home safe as well.
That's what it
Sorry.
is.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for giving us your time. I don't want to take you down through all the same questions that I asked you yesterday, because we did go through all that, and I don't want to put you guys through the emotions of going down through her entire story again. Is there anything important that you want to tell to the community? Anything that you feel like you haven't been able to say on the news or during any of the broadcasts so far?
yes, just if anything comes from this, we have to push for the police, the detectives, and everybody to work more. I don't know the word I'm looking for.
We have to push for a change.
A change.
in the system.
Your children are missing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Gracie was reported missing on Thursday. The detective did not even get her case until Monday. That was 4 days.
4 days, my baby.
4 days that she could have been anywhere before they even looked at her case. That is not okay. That is not okay. You wonder why there's such a problem in California for trafficking? Because California laws are the worst. They don't protect our children here. They don't care. They've gone fishing for the weekend. Now, I will say once Detective Collins got her case on Monday, he has been working on it. I did get a little disheartened on Friday when he emailed me and said, I'm not working today. I'll be back on Monday. So at that point, that was 9 days of my child being missing, and he'd only been working on it for 4. That's not okay either. I will say he did get up on Sunday and started doing it, and he's been working actively ever since. But the San Diego Sheriff's Department dropped the ball when they took the first report. They did not report it properly. They did not get it to the right people, and they let her sit there for 4 damn days as just a runaway. The sheriff told me straight from his mouth, the lieutenant or sergeant down at the station, we don't have the manpower to go knocking on every door and looking for every child that goes missing. Verbatim.
So that means we as a community need to stand together and bring these children home.
The children are only going to be found by us, by our own help, by people helping. Spread her picture, spread her word. If you can just take one flyer and put it at a gas station by your house, that's one flyer, that's 1,000 eyes a day. That's all I'm asking. One flyer. Just put one flyer up somewhere.
In the public
That's
eye.
all I'm asking.
We have to.
And she needs spread from California to the other side of the country, guys. They have
Absolutely.
connections all the way to West Virginia.
I mean,
She could literally be anywhere.
And her connections that she has on the East Coast are not connections that she would be running to, is the problem. The family that we have on the East Coast, we have family, but it's not like family that we are in a close relationship with all the time. Alena has a sister out there, but she wouldn't have any idea where she lives. She didn't even know what city she lives in. My daughter is out there, and her sister is her older sister, but she wouldn't be going there either. She doesn't have that, and she hasn't turned on her phone numbers. She doesn't know anybody's phone number like that by heart, and without her phone being turned on, there's no way for her to contact anybody.
Right. No digital footprint at all, guys. No communication. No turning on her PlayStation, her cell phone, anything that would have been normally important to this girl, guys. And this is why this is so important that we share and we get her face absolutely everywhere. They're 20 minutes from the Mexican border.
Parents, get your kids' passwords,
yeah.
login information.
That's the other thing.
Keep that.
If you think you know anything about your child, guess what? You don't. You don't. Because for that one screen name they've got 10 more that you don't know about. And know everything about them if you can. I mean, in the world that we're in, you can't protect them. You can't keep them off the internet. They need the internet for school even. So you can't protect them. There's no way to keep them off of the internet. Check your kids' passwords weekly. Go into everything. Be nosy. Don't give them that privacy that everybody says that they need now. Kids don't deserve privacy. I'm sorry.
Not in
the world that we live in now. Because your children are not protected. They are not safe. And any of those gaming platforms, there is no electronic traceable footprint. Those Fortnite and Apex platforms are on something called Whisper. It is the same as Snapchat. The moment they log off, poof, all evidence is gone.
Yep. Yeah, it's scary. And even if you have a good kid, Gracie, by all accounts, is a good kid. Straight A student.
Never been in trouble. This is not a kid who, not a kid. She never even screamed at us, ran down the hall and slammed her door. Never. I've never even experienced that with this child.
Yeah, she's not, I hate you type kid.
She just doesn't do it. That's
not who she is.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
getting
for
her
getting your
story
story
out there.
Yeah, I know that there are other creators that are planning to cover her. I only have about 6,000 people here that watch, but we do have other people that are planning to share this to their platforms as well. And we're going to do the best we can on YouTube's side to try to get her face absolutely everywhere. And I talked to you guys yesterday about like missing justice and getting a Facebook group going for her. And so we're hoping to do that at some point today as well.
I appreciate it. I've been trying to do those things. I just can't. I can't mentally do it anymore. So any help would be appreciative in that. I definitely would like to get her page going, and if someone is out there who wants to do that, they can reach out to me and I'd be willing to help with that anyway.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys so much. Is there any other questions in the audience real quick before I let them go? I don't really see anything. A lot of prayers, a lot of hearts going up for you guys.
Okay, so
Wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, our good friend, the Sleuth Mom. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very kind of you letting us use that.
It is, and I want you. She has 2 videos so far. I've linked her channel. I've linked her videos. Please go watch them. And as a request from this channel, and I'm going to put it up again in the description, I do have 3 different flyers for Gracie. They're all digital, but the one that's formatted, I'm going to be honest, the one that's formatted the best for reproduction is the one from Class Kids. So
Mark, that's so. Did they do that? That's so kind of them.
it really is. So if you all could take any one of them and put it, if you use Twitter, if you use Facebook, if whatever, Instagram, whatever it is, if you can put it on there. And then the second favor I'm going to ask you is to save that flyer on your phone, like on your photo roll, so that if it comes up in conversation or something, like, or you have the opportunity, you have it like right there on your camera roll, and you could say, oh yeah, I have our flyer, here you go, and text it to the person so that they have it, and then ask them to do the same thing. Just keep her name out there, keep the pressure on law enforcement. You heard the frustration in that mom's voice, and even the frustration with, do you know how long, Ping can tell you how long it takes to get search warrants for things like her, for Sony?
Can be months.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're not, they are still not at the level right now of being responsive to a parent who, yes. So the parent paid that bill.
They don't really do it like that. They do it in a way where it has to come from the police's side with a subpoena for that information for that specific account. It can't, and it's not like you can be like, oh, and we want to look at anything else attached to that IP.
Right.
They have to submit one for each individual account that they know of. Normally, sometimes they help and they'll look for other stuff, but a lot of the time they need one for each individual thing they want. Back in the 90s and 80s, they had a lot of issues with when cell phones first came along, and they wanted to track missing people and things like that. But the telcos actually worked with the police, and they developed a system where they have a hotline now. And I don't know if you've ever witnessed this, I have, where they can dial in and they can just go, yeah, I'm from, San Diego PD. My badge number is, 31218. I need a check on this number, last ping location. I need it now. And they'll just do it like in a second.
Right.
That's what we need for the digital footprint. Now, I will say this to Gracie's parents: don't give up. Just because you don't have the PlayStation doesn't mean that information isn't around.
Right.
But it can be found. I'm a trained cybersecurity analyst. I can tell you for a fact it's there and it can be found 100%. You don't need her PlayStation. It's not a big deal. One of the things that would help, though, is if you could find her MAC address number. If you can find her MAC address, it's a very important piece of information. I tried to explain this to Amy recently.
Mm-hmm.
An IP address is sort of like sort of like your telephone number, and it can change and you can move it around and it can go, anywhere. But a MAC address is sort of like your street address. Your house doesn't move. That's what a MAC address is. It's the street address of that device. Yeah, it would be good if they could figure where that is. It might be on the box that she bought it. It could be in the like pamphlets it came with. Sometimes they printed on those things for insurance purposes. The other thing I wanted to mention was I heard her say that, she was a stepmom and this and that. One thing I'm really big on is that, stepmoms are real mums too. I don't think we have to define that. And she is a real mum. She can just say, I'm her mum. I don't think she needs to define that because stepmoms are real mums in everyday life. And that's one thing that bugs me a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah. Especially when the birth mom is out of the picture. Especially.
Right, exactly.
I mean, that's a sensitive thing for me all the time, being a step parent and not having my own children. But they do have a mom, and they have a mom that they're, with on a regular basis. So that my situation is a little different. But yeah, I think it's just something that innately we do as step parents because we tend to be minimized sometimes. So, but yeah, she's your mommy, and yeah. So, like you said, the digital thing, the digital flyer. If anybody could do that, even if you, my God, if you could change, like if you don't really want to burden your friends or anything, if you can just change your profile picture to the flyer, maybe.
Oh, this would be good. Before we came on the show, I was researching Gracie on Google. But I noticed that there's not a lot of hits on Google for her name, even her full name, her short name, or just Gracie.
It's not.
I need anyone and everyone to sort of like start making breadcrumbs on the internet. So it starts like registering on Google because right now when you search it, it's like 2 searches and the rest is like not related. So anytime you mention her name, supply a link back to her flyer, whatever, it'll help build up those results over the next like week or so, and they'll start chiming in on Google a lot more because right now her parents must be so scared because when they type her name into Google, nothing really comes up. It's like 2 links, and then it's Sleuth Mum's video, and then Sleuth Mum was on a another channel about 3 hours ago talking about this case, and that's it. And us. I saw our video on there too. But that's it. So if you can do that and try get her name imprinted into Google a bit more, it'll help with the media. So the next step, in my opinion, is that the media will start, if we talk about this more and get all the true crime creators involved, the media will start picking it up because we're talking about it. And that's the next step, getting some national attention on this through the media. And that's when things really start getting rolling very quickly. And that's the next step I believe they need. Because, once those big players start getting involved, things move a lot quicker.
So I have some more updated pictures of Gracie that I do want to share. Here's the thing. I opened them earlier. They came to me in a zip file because remember I told you she has like a chameleon quality with her physical appearance.
She does. The 2 photos I've seen, I was like, wait, are they different girls? I was like, oh, no, they're the same one.
Yeah, and not that she's I'm not making a comparison like she's a criminal, but I was trying to think about, it was the first name that came into my mind. Do you remember Andrew Cunanan, who
was right,
Versace? Yeah. So, or Versace. She's like that. I mean, from one minute to the next, she can look like a different person. Just, hey, Sleuth Mom, would you like to join us? If you would,
yeah, sure.
I'll give you a link, and if not, it's quite all right. But thank you so much for all that you've done. And
we understand if you don't want to. We know what it's like being on live for like 3 hours and then being like, can you come on my show too? It's very tiring.
Yeah, she said she could jump on, so that's awesome. Ping, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm taking away from.
Oh, I actually think that we might leave Debbie until Thursday. I think this case can just have this entire video. I think it's there's so much to go through still and talk about. I think we just leave it and just do Gracie for tonight. I think her parents would like that too if she just had her own video.
Yeah. Crocheting Bambi's so funny. She's like, stepmoms get a bad rap, starting all the way back to Cinderella. I always tease Isabella about that. So why does every Disney movie it's a wicked stepmother? Why? All right, she is backstage, so I'm going to add her to the stream. Hello, how are you?
Hi guys. Thank you so much for covering this tonight. I really do appreciate it.
No, you're welcome.
You're so welcome. Thank you for, being the leader and starting. We were saying this is like the wave, and you started it. We're going to continue it, and we'll just wave around until we get some answers. So that's
Absolutely. I literally just jumped off live, so I didn't hear the whole beginning, and I apologize for that. But it's just so devastating, everything that is going on in this case. And we were just talking to her mom and dad again, and they thought they had a lead, they thought they had a sighting, and whenever they went and looked at the video footage and looked at the pictures of the girl, it unfortunately wasn't her. And so it was kind of like a very hopeful moment, and then just devastation afterwards today. So
you can, people make jokes about me that my face doesn't lie. Like if I'm like sitting up here and I'm annoyed, like I cannot do it. It's terrible. I got to turn off my camera. Their voices don't lie. You can hear the trauma.
Yeah, very, very hard to listen to that video.
Yeah, and you did a great job, and I'm not, pandering to you by any means, but so good in the reassuring department, but also keeping it on task and getting them to answer some important questions, not for entertainment value, but for dispersing information that might help with this case. I was really impressed at how, it was like watching Dateline.
It's hard whenever you get the families on, and that's something that I've had several interviews with families so far, and to get them, because they want to talk about everything that's going on in their life in that moment, and so you got to kind of let them talk a little bit, but then bring them back at the same time, because while I care that everything is going on, we have to keep the focus at the same time on the minute details that could possibly help find her.
Absolutely. And even with I'm in extra awe of you, because I kind of have a rule for myself. I've broken it in one place recently, and maybe the last year. I don't do family contact or victim contact anymore. On my old channel, I did a lot of it, and it becomes very delicate and takes a lot out of you. And whether or not the case ends up positive or negative, like you kind of have that trauma bond for the rest of your life type of thing, and you carry it around. So I admire you for being able to do it. I have two weaknesses in true crime, and one is children, and the other one is families. And the only family member that I have another family I talk to on a regular basis, but is like in the Vallow case, and that's it. Like other than that, my hands are, because it is difficult.
It is, because you become their family. Sorry.
They do.
You become completely their family. You're just another extension of it, because you go through these emotions, the roller coaster, completely with them.
Yeah. And I know people at home experience that too, and that's how we become emotionally invested. And so anyway, when we started off this live, I kind of gave them the background. We talked a little bit about how law enforcement will often not triage a case properly. And so it's almost like an excuse or buys them time to say, oh, well, they're just a runaway and we need to stop doing that, exactly the way her stepmother phrases that. Like, and I feel the same way. Like, if your kid's missing, they're missing. Highly problematic. And then we were talking about ways to improve the waiting times on some of this stuff. Like maybe not every department has a, digital forensics unit, that we have something centralized, some central thing, like an emergency room for crimes, where like, okay, so this is Gracie's case, and because it's mostly going to be digital, she doesn't need to go to a general practitioner to the sheriff's office. She needs to go to a specialist, and her case is automatically sent up there and prioritized, so that we're not waiting on Sony. We're not waiting on these kind of things, because we all know you can't afford to wait. So we kind of went through that, and then I played your video, starting with, well, one, you confirming. We only played like maybe 2 minutes of you confirming like what documentation or what documents she took with her, and then we kind of scrubbed over to where the parents joined your live, and I had a very hard time holding it together listening to it, and I already listened to it a couple times today. Also, we talked about the RAD movement, because I actually ended up talking to an officer, not an officer, because that's going to sound like law enforcement, a founder for that non-for-profit. I verified their non-for-profit status, and had a nice, very long conversation while I was at the grocery store and through the checkout line and driving home. And they do phenomenal work, and they're new on the scene. But I had told people in this live, and I'm going to do it on TCS as well, on a slightly bigger platform, and then encourage other creators to do the same. But they haven't been around very long, but they're very they have a lot of specialty help, and they can move fast because they don't have the red tape and the bureaucracy. And they have also, especially in the California area, because it's where they're based out of, they have fostered some relationships with not only press, but with some people in the law enforcement area. So,
yeah, and her mom was just telling us. We just had her live on another show, and she was telling us that how pivotal the RAD movement has been. They have really, what a private investigator would typically do, that's what these people are doing for them. And so this is a completely volunteer-based, free for this family thing, where they're digging into these devices, they're pulling IP addresses, they're looking into these conversations, and then, like you said, they've connected them with different agencies and people that they need to talk to across the border, even in Mexico. And so it's been an extremely, extremely helpful thing for them.
Yeah. When I was speaking to the person on the other end of the line, I have to be careful, because I was grocery shopping. So multitasking. I didn't specifically ask like, what can I talk about? What can't I? So I was just kind of being really, really careful. But you're right. They have a lot of relationships all over the place that allow them to investigate things a little bit better than maybe law enforcement in some situations. And I never endorse GoFundMe's. I don't endorse anything, because I've just been, I told you on the phone, I did mention to people that we spoke on the phone this afternoon. I'm just very, very careful, because I've been burnt before. But once, I got all that information for RAD vetted, if you're going to donate to somewhere, I think, the class kids and this are like the two major ones right now. Pick one or the other. But they need money, because sometimes they get something, and they literally rescue children from human trafficking.
Yes.
So
and they've brought 3 back from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Like they literally have crossed the border and rescued children from a trafficking ring. And that's like recent. This is all within the last 2 years. I think 17 kids.
I think it's
that they found 18. And so they have 100% success rate as well. They've never not found a kid that they were looking for. And that gives me a ton of hope for Gracie, that they are going to find her and find her quickly.
Yeah. I agree. I 100% agree. And I was telling them that, I didn't tell them the whole story, but I had, I kind of not that I know it all, but I'd never heard of them, and I was struggling with some things, and it's interesting how you meet people and build relationships, because I was even saying, like, then I was trying to reach out to you, and you were so gracious, and this person at the other end of the line at Rad, who's like in charge, super wonderful. I can tell the dedication is there, the very professional, and I don't think they could be in better hands. So
Agreed. It's very clear that what they are doing is to help. They're the way that they are approaching things and everything that they are doing to comfort this family and research and dig and just show them every step of the way what is going on. It's just so reassuring for what Shannon and Alan are dealing with right now. Especially whenever, like, detectives, they can't tell us this stuff, right? Once a detective is investigating, they're not going to tell a parent, like, hey, just so you know, I found this, 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 and this, and we're going to go talk to this person, and this person. Whereas places like Rad can do that so that a parent feels like something is happening.
Yeah, we have a person on the way out there right now to look, or we're downloading it right this second. As soon as we hear something, we will call you, good or bad. Like, that they feel like something's happening with their case. You're building that rapport and that trust, and it's just really important. I don't even know how to process hearing her mother's voice or hearing Shannon's voice. I mean, I am not like hippy dippy whatever empath, but I am sort of, and it made me shake. I mean,
No, this morning's interview was extremely rough. And that's why I only kept them on a couple minutes, because I wasn't sure. Number one, I didn't know they were going to come on.
Right.
She seen that I was live and she popped on. And so I had already covered all of the questions that I would typically ask. And I didn't want to go down through and make her retell everything in that moment, especially hearing how emotional she was. And so this evening we did go back down through and kind of, hear the whole story from mom and dad, and get it all from their mouths instead of it being me telling it.
Right.
But they were a little bit more composed tonight, but at the same time, like, you can hear the stress, right? Because they have this child that they care about and they love so much missing. And it's just, you can hear how exhausted they are and how just overwhelming this entire situation is.
Yeah. Ping was saying this before, and I agree with him. One of the scary things about this case is that there's not a lot out there about it, and it should be not just because it's Gracie, but because we're seeing children on devices being lured away from their home, and it's strangely similar to Kaylee Jones out of Atlanta. I mean, same deal. Just picks up and leaves her house one night, and she was a gamer. And there's a case. Actually, now I have 3 or 4 I could make parallels that I'm thinking about. So this needs to be talked about more. And I loved when Shannon said, like, your children do not deserve privacy. I am fully subscribe to that. Sometimes I feel really, really bad. My stepdaughter has a phone, and every night it has to go, at a certain point, it has to go away in our room. She doesn't have access to it at night. And we will randomly check, and we will randomly look in folders and look through apps. If we don't know what an app is, like, we figured out, like, you have to do that. If your children are going to be on the internet, you have to do that. And I'm not like casting blame on these parents at all. I'm just saying, like, people need to be aware that this stuff can happen and how easily, and the same way your child can be groomed, through a social club, like in person or something along those lines, it can happen online too. And people are crafty and persuasive and know exactly how to get that little Achilles heel to get especially teenagers to bite.
But Amy, I don't think it's just that. I think with digital literacy becoming so commonplace now within schools and with kids and stuff, they know a lot more than you think they do,
Oh,
especially about things like encryption
oh,
and things like that, hiding things. So get yourself knowledgeable about that type
yeah.
of stuff because
Oh,
they know.
oh, you're 100% right. You know, I'll tell you this. So, not something I would have approved of, but Isabella has a YouTube channel. Okay, was not run by this household, but she was allowed to do it, and it's just because she draws. It's just like shorts of her drawing and stuff. Like it never shows her face. She's never talking. It's just her drawings. And all the videos are marked made for kids, so there's no commenting allowed, right? And every once in a while, she'll send me like one to look, and I want to support it. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to give it a like, and I give it a thumbs up, and all that stuff. I got all my friends to subscribe. Just Saturday, she's had it for 2 months now. I was thinking, oh, I haven't seen any of her videos lately. So I go to her channel. And there's comments because guess what? Little Missy went and took off the Not Made for Kids, and now she's been interacting with people, and nobody was watching it.
They're very, very crafty, the kids these days. They know.
Yep, and I didn't. Oh, and this is the important part. So I didn't get a chance to talk to her about it because I actually wasn't at home when I looked, right? And by the time I got home, it was turned back on again, and all the comments were deleted. And then the next morning, like while she was sleeping, I turned it on. I went and looked, and the comments were back. So she's turning it off and on and deleting it.
Yeah, so she's probably doing it while she's using the like YouTube, and then as soon as she's finished, she turns it back off, so it looks like it's normal.
Yep, and super, super sneaky. And so we had a long conversation about, we understand that all this. I don't want to take away from Gracie, but it's important. Like I was like, I get it. Like you want the full experience. You're not ready for it. I'm sorry, you can't have it. And like mom needs to know, and we all need to talk about it. And we'll see what happens. But if you do something like this again, like it's no YouTube for you, babe. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have approved of it in the first place, to be honest.
No, I think the point is just get educated with what can be done.
Mm-hmm.
If you know that now, you will be in better control of what your kids do and see and things like. And I'm not saying you should control your kids. I'm just saying you will know what are warning signs or what are issues because you already have the information in your brain. Don't be playing catch up later on. Try and figure it out now.
No, and from a risk management perspective, I think like you can be cautious and curious about your children without being overly invasive where they feel like they have nothing. But
of course,
sorry, we're just talking and
you're fine. You're making excellent points. I mean, that's one of the things that her mom keeps telling me was she was a good kid. Like we never thought that this was possible. We never thought this was going to happen. She had got in trouble about 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, Snapchat, right? Typical kid type thing where the conversations weren't appropriate. They busted her. And she lost her phone for 2 years. And the phone wasn't the issue this time. It was the PlayStation.
Right.
So, and they never thought, that all of this stuff was possible through PlayStation.
A lot of people.
And then her school laptop was the other thing. They downloaded the data from it, Rad did, and analyzed it. And her mom said that she was appalled how much stuff that was not school related that was on her school laptop that stays at the school. Like, how are they doing all this while they're supposed to be in class?
Because the schools have not kept up with it. I had it started during the pandemic. My daughter was in 6th grade when the kids were home, and the teachers were using like Google Classroom, and those kids figured out how to get through Google Classroom, open a Google chat, and take it somewhere else. and exchange YouTube videos, TikToks, everything all day long. Like things that normally you would, they are smart. They're like little velociraptors. They're checking that fence every day, every single day. The minute you let your
Amy,
guard down, they find it. Yeah.
I did hear that during the pandemic, because of the rush to get laptops, like laptops were in such big demand, especially for schooling, a lot of the schools didn't do the normal hardening of the laptops that they would normally do, and a lot of them just gave them out with like a virus scanner. So
Mhm.
got to pay attention, check when your kids get stuff, and
Well, and they were trying to keep costs down, and so they ordered things like Google Chromebooks.
which have everything built in just to do whatever, like online, because
Mhm.
that's what they are. They're online. They're not really made as a typical
They're not-
laptop. They're
no.
made to store everything online and share online and things like
Yeah.
that.
So, and those kids know their way around it. I mean, they've grown up and they're not scared about, different generations have different approaches to technology. And I mean, I'm Gen X, so we're not really scared either. But there are some that are like, oh, well, I don't want to try doing that because I might break it, or I might like. These kids are kind of like how we were when the internet first came in, meaning my generation.
Well, they teach coding as an elective
Mhm.
at schools now. So I
Right.
mean, they're literally learning how to build their own programs in school.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity as well is now an elective in a lot of schools as well, which I find scary. Like I've got 10 years at university for different IT subjects, and some of these kids know more than I do, and I'm like, oh my god, how do you know that? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Because it's insane. But
Not to mention, no matter what your question is, if you type it in Google, they'll figure it out. Literally, if you Google what documents do I need to run away, because I was trying to look up how many other kids have taken their social security cards and their birth certificates with them whenever they ran away, and Quora pops up, and
yeah.
it has all of this like instructions on how to run away, how to not be found, taking your birth certificate and stuff like that with you, so that you can, get your driver's license someday, and like all that different stuff. Like it's all in Quora, and it's like, why is this on here? Like, why
Yeah.
is stuff on the internet like allowed to just give kids a written instruction on what to do to run away?
Yeah, it's
There's
Sleuth
Crazy.
Mum on Quora. I've been on there recently, and there is some really weird kind of questions on there that, as a site, if I was running it, I wouldn't allow. Like, it's just, and you can tell the kids are young, like teenagers or like even younger, and they're asking about things like, running away or guns, or if I wanted to make something that goes boom, or things like that. Just things that you probably wouldn't think that would be on that kind of site, and
Right.
they're on there. And they're giving full on instructions and how would I do this and that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not only on there, but because I've seen like people talking about like files for 3D printers to make like we're not monetized, so to make guns.
It is a gun channel after all.
We joke about that because I went on a streak where I was like about school shootings a lot, and then we just so we were gonna have to change our name to the gun channel because it just got out of hand. But I don't determine what happens to true crime. I just talk about it. But there are still entire not websites, but like chat rooms and bulletin boards and things of that nature that look they really look like 1990s stuff. And they will tell kids they'll tell people how to disappear. They'll tell kids how to disappear. They tell people how to wipe their devices. There's websites about how to hide eating disorders, what to eat, charts that talk about how much you could lose if you didn't do this on how many days. So I want to lose 48 pounds in 100 days. No problem. Somebody's got a chart up there that you've got to run 10 hours a day and do this and do that and suck on a cough drop. And I mean, there's some really, it's scary. You have to know what your kids are doing online.
And we're not blaming Gracie's parents or anything. It's just a warning, like a general warning that the internet's a scary place.
I totally get it. And I mean, and I've done internet safety lives with there's a couple channels, and we get together on Wednesdays and we do panels. And that's one of the things we covered for like 6 or 7 weeks was, what's going on the internet and how to protect your kids. because
Yeah.
so many people just don't know. They don't even realize, they don't think about it. And everybody is under the impression that my kid's a good kid. You know, we're best friends. They tell me everything. I'm here to tell you. And Gracie's mom said, you know, as much as you think they are telling you everything, they're not.
They're not.
You know, they're lying to you. They're hiding stuff. Your good kid is not a good kid. Look at their devices. Like, don't excuse not looking. And I mean, and I was glad that she put that message out there, because it's important for people to realize good kids run away too.
Have you guys
Good
heard of
kids get
the
lured too.
scenario where it's quite common now where a lot of kids strive to be the good kid because it allows them more freedom within their home life, like more privileges and things like that.
Yes.
And it's a well-known thing. Like kids are actually like, I'm going to pretend to be the good kid at home and do everything right, so that I'm not the kid who gets grounded. I'm allowed to go to the parties. I can do X, Y, and Z. But on the other side of it, away from the family, like they're not naughty or anything. They're just being teenagers. But you know, it's a bit of a known thing.
But it's dangerous what they're doing. Oh, I will say this: Isabella's a straight A student. She is. That girl is like, as much as like a stepmom and a kid and have a parental relationship. She's like my little, you know. I adore her. We spend a lot of time together. We have common interests, all of that stuff. So when I tell you, when I caught her, like I literally watched and saw the commenting going on and off on that YouTube channel, it broke my heart. No, it shouldn't have surprised me. It shouldn't have surprised me, because
She is the original Velociraptor. So
yeah, but it broke my heart, because every other place in her life is so transparent, but to find out that she has this whole thing, and then it really kind of opened my eyes to like, okay, now we're at this age where like
She's starting her secret life.
we're gonna have secrets.
they want something for them. They want something that's
Yeah.
just for their own, like,
Right.
you know, yeah.
But it's hard, and I know I'm going to get pushed back, and that relationship is going to change. And what I've had to say to myself is, I'm okay with you hating me right now if it means that you're safe.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you can look at it, isn't it?
And it stinks because it hurts. Like it hurt. Like she hasn't really said it so much, but there was some door slamming and whatnot.
Angry huffing.
Yeah. Oh, or the, you know, passing you in the hallway and I didn't mean to bump you. And I'm like, oh, sister, I am queen of, like, I grew up with a passive aggressive sister, so don't even. Like,
I can shoulder charge with the best of them.
Exactly. Like, I'm not having it. But yeah, I mean, you know, you still love them, but it's just hard. And I think that's where, and again, not Gracie's parents, but I think this is where a lot of parents too back down there. They're like, oh, there's two things going on. They're my little bestie, you know, and they don't want to have a fight with their little bestie.
They don't want to wreck the family dynamics that they have.
I'm not. I've already told, and I told her this weekend. I told her in the most loving way I know how that, like, I don't care if you're mad. I mean, I wish you weren't mad at me, but I don't. It's not really a concern of mine right now because my concern is protecting you. That's what your dad and I are worried about. And it makes it difficult because there's tension and everything else, but
you do what you have to do.
Do what you have to do. Yeah. I mean, if my kid was diabetic, I wouldn't let him sit and eat 4 pounds of M&Ms, right?
No, because so you're going to protect them how you can.
Yeah, because I didn't want them to be mad at me. I'd be like, no. And if I caught you with M&Ms, I'd be like, oh my gosh, you're going to die if you're going to do that. Like, we can't do that. No, bad. All this stuff. It's not, I mean, it is different, but I'm protecting her from something. And I'm sorry that you're angry about it because you want to do something else. But it's my job to keep you safe. So, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
But on that note, I know you just did a live. We don't want to keep you forever. And I think we're going to wrap up soon.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. It was very nice of you to let us use your video too.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. And I know that Crime Time with Mal, that's where we did the interview tonight. If you guys end up needing any clips or anything from that, she's the same thing. Please share the family story because that's where we're at right now. So
Sleuth Mom, have you had any like with speaking with the parents, have they started reaching out all through the RAD Foundation? Have they started trying to get media traction yet?
Yeah, so they have done I think 3 or 4 interviews with news stations now.
Okay, it hasn't nothing show. It's really bare on Google. I'm hoping over the next 3 days it'll start getting.
I did make a Facebook group for her today, and I have all of the interviews there. I think they're still playing kind of the same one on the stations, and then they added like what they talked about on the phone, but they didn't put the mom's voice, if that makes sense. But I
Yeah, I
can put
get
that
that.
in the I can put the one of the most recent interview if you'd like in the private chat real quick before I jump down.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me
Yep.
find it. Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
thank you for your help.
Yeah.
yeah, no problem. And I mean, her case, it worries me so much because of like all of the weird stuff going on in it, honestly, with the birth certificates and stuff. But then the day before, like she spent all this special time with her siblings, and it reminded me of Alicia Navarro. I don't know if you guys are
Oh,
familiar with.
right, yeah.
Well, Alicia Navarro did the same thing. She asked to stay home from school the day before she went missing, and she spent her last day doing special things with her mom. And it was
You
just kind
remember the
of
boy who went missing in
eerie.
the UK and he has never been found? That one, he left to go to a rock concert. He did something very similar too.
Mm-hmm. And it just makes you wonder if there is some type of parallel behind the scenes that is like, the same type of organization or the same type of group that is teaching these kids what to do or teaching these people what to say to these kids to get them to do this stuff.
Yeah, Sleuth Mom, is there any direct evidence about the Mexico thing so far, or is that just a worry because they're so close?
Yeah, so they are super close. That pretty much is the only link right now. The fact that they are 20 minutes away. That's why the Mexico thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that is the most recent one. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for letting me jump up and kind of chat with you guys.
No worries, we'll
Appreciate
let you go. Thanks for having us.
Bye,
Really
guys.
Get it. Bye-bye. Good night.
That was very kind. We kept it probably 5 minutes too long.
So that's all I have for tonight. I think we
I
went
think we can shut down for the night. It was a very
really
very
long.
detailed, long show, and I think we'll keep more Debbie's stuff until Thursday. I think it wouldn't be right to kind of just shove it in at the last minute and be like, let's do this for 5 minutes. Her case is very long and detailed too, and we want to give you the best overview and our thoughts and things like that. And best just leave this as it is, and we'll change the title and stuff. But other than that, it was great to be back. Really good to see you again, and glad you're okay from the hurricane. And good to see everyone in chat. It was good to see everyone. Tambra's here. Hello, Tambra.
Tambra has a belated birthday. If anybody else,
Oh, better girl.
I know. If anybody else has a birthday today or in the next couple of days, like in between the time when we have shows, happy birthday to you. Any big things in your life, congratulations. If you're having a bad day, we're all here for you.
Adopting an elephant, it's the good things.
Exactly. All these good things. I know. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, that means it's the biggest way you could support our channel. This is a secondary channel that Ping and I started together. For anybody that doesn't know, we both come from like other places on YouTube and have other, dealings with other people and what have you. And we just wanted to take a different approach to true crime. So we kind of started here. But we don't have the momentum that a lot of channels did starting during the pandemic. So we're slow to start. We're still figuring it out and everything else. So, you can give us a subscribe. We're desperately trying to get to that community channel. So in the meantime, we are trying to be consistent Tuesdays and Thursdays, anywhere between 9:30 and 9:50, 950. On that note, I'm going to shut up and say good night. Ping, do you have anything you want to say before I hit the end broadcast button?
Yes. Just remember these people. When the broadcast ends, it doesn't mean it goes away. Keep doing stuff. Keep sharing stuff, and try and find that Facebook group that Sleuth Mom was talking about. and see what you can do to help by
Mm-hmm.
spreading stuff and making some imprint online because the family really needs it. Other than that, good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.